In this video, we will be creating and interpreting line plots. Now, these notes are going to look a little bit different just because we are actually taking a page from the book. We're going to be taking page 537 from chapter 9 in your Go Math book, and we are going to be taking our notes from this. So go ahead and rip that page out, and we're going to be writing on it, taking our notes, and then we will fold it in half hamburger style and glue it into our interactive math notebook. Let's go ahead and jump into the first problems. So first things first, we have to create our line plot. So as you can see down here, I have my line to create our line plot. It has three measurements on it. We've got 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. So let's take a look at our question. It says a clerk in a health food store makes bags of trail mix. The amount of trail mix in each bag is listed below. So we're going to take all of these numbers and put them on the line plot. So while I do it, I'm going to say, okay, 1/4, 1/4, crossed out. There's another 1/4, cross it out, write it on. There's 3/4, cross it out, write it on. Notice that what I'm doing here is every time I see 1/4, I'm putting a small x above 1/4. Every time I see 3/4, putting a small x above 3/4. And then I get to 1/2, cross it out, put a small x. Make sure you are crossing them out as you're writing them on, because otherwise it could get a little bit confusing to know which one you have done and which one you haven't done. There's 1/4 again. There's 3/4 again. 3/4 again. Another 3/4. There's 1/2. 1/4. 1/2. And 1/2 again. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of these that we have. I see I've got 4 1/4, 4 1/2, and 4 3/4. That's super evenly distributed. It usually won't be like that. Now I'm going to double check and make sure I have the right number of x's. There's 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 4 is 12. Let's go back and count our numbers to make sure we're supposed to have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So our line plot is made correctly. We can move on to the questions. All right. So question number 1 is answered for us, but we're going to see how we would solve it. What is the combined weight of the quarter-pound bags? So let's look at our quarter pounds, and we're going to count by quarters. We can see that the first one is 1/4. Another 1/4 is 2/4, 3/4, and 1 whole. That's how they got their 1 pound. Because I know that 4 1/4 portions would be 1 whole pound. Let's do the same thing with number 2. What is the combined total weight of the half-pound bags? Let's count those. We're going to count 1/2, 1 whole, because 2 halves equals 1 whole, 1 and 1/2, 2. Make sure you're keeping up and you're understanding how we're getting that answer, but that looks pretty good. We've got 2 pounds. Remember, LBS is the symbol for pounds. What is the combined weight of the 3/4 pound bags? It's a little bit harder to count by 3/4. So we've got 3/4. Now let's add 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. We could add them up. That's one way to do it. But another way to do it would be multiplying. So I know I've got 3/4 times 4. And remember, when we multiply by a whole number, we're going to add a 1 underneath. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. I know that 12 divided by 4, it's not just a fraction, it's also a division problem. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I know that 3/4 times 4 would give me 3 pounds. Looks good. Now it says, what is the total weight of the trail mix used in all the bags? So if we hadn't done all that prep work to figure out how much the quarter, the half, and the 3/4 were, we would have to go through and individually count. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, a whole, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. We could count like that. But we've already done the prep work. So we know that all the 1/4 bags are 1 pound, all the half-pound bags are 2 pounds, and all the 3/4 pound bags are 3 pounds. So I know that 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6 pounds. 6 pounds. Now is where it gets a little bit tricky. So it asks us, what is the average amount of trail mix in each bag? So just to remind you, in order to find the average, you're going to add up everything and then divide by the number of things you added. So lucky for you, we've already added up all of the little portions of the bags, the quarter, the half, and the 3/4 pound bags. So we know there are 6 pounds across everything. So in order to make our equation, we're going to say 6 divided by, we need to count and remember how many bags there are. So we're going to go back up here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 of them. 6 divided by 12. Now remember, whenever you have a problem like this, it's not just a division problem, it's also a fraction, 6/12. So let's remind ourselves how we did that. The average is saying if we put all of the trail mix back in the original big bag and redistributed all evenly, so all the bags were exactly the same, instead of having quarter and half and 3/4 pound bags, all of the bags would have 6/12 of a pound. And we can simplify that by dividing by 6, and we'll get 1/2. So if all the bags were equal with the same amount of trail mix, 6 pounds, divided between 12 bags, each bag would be 1/2 of a pound. Looks good, looks good. Most of your classwork is not going to have average. We're actually going to consider that more of an extension. So I'm more concerned that you completely understand how to make and analyze the line plot without finding the average. We might go back and find average later in an extension. Let's move on to the next problems. I'm going to have you do some of these. This says Julie uses crystals to make a bracelet. The lengths of her crystals are shown below. So she's got all of these different lengths, and we are going to put them on our line plot. So let's start with 1/2 inch, cross it out, put an X. 5/8, cross it out, put an X. 3/4, cross it out, put an X. 1/2, cross it out, put an X. 3/8, cross it out, put an X. 1/2. 3/4. Remember, you can pause the video or go back anytime you need to and make sure you're keeping up with me and your line plot looks just like mine. Try to keep it super neat, and we are going to use X's because most line plots use X's. Got another 3/8, a 3/4, a 5/8, a 1/2, 3/8, 5/8, and 3/4. All right, so let's go back and count just to make sure we have the right numbers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I should have 14 X's. Let's count them. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Perfect. So our line plot is made correctly. Make sure yours looks just like mine. And let's go into the questions. What is the combined length of the 1/2 inch crystals? So go ahead and look at your 1/2 inch. See how many X's you have. Think about what that combined length would be. So you can either count by 1/2s, or you can say 1/2 times the number of X's you have. Go ahead and solve that and put what is the combined length of all those 1/2 inch crystals? Go ahead and put that in your answer box. All right, so how you should have solved this. You should have noticed that there was 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 1/2 inch crystals. So we could say 1/2 times 4/1 would give me 4/2. And we know that simplifies to 2. I also could count it by 1/2. So I could have said 1/2, 1 whole, 1.5, 2. Pretty easy there, 2 inches. What is the combined length of the 5/8 inch crystals? That one's going to be a little bit more complicated. I think it's going to be easiest if you multiply. So make sure you're using the setup I did up here for you. And go ahead and multiply your 5/8 inch times how many X's you have and put your answer in the box. For this one, you should have said 5/8. Ooh, that's a 3. Times 1, 2, 3. Remember that 3 goes over a 1. 5 times 3 is 15. 8 times 1 is 8. 15/8. Remember, it's not just a fraction, it's also a division problem. 15 divided by 8. 8 can go into 15 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 15 minus 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 is 7. And remember, find my answer, I have my whole number, and I put my remainder over my divisor. 1 7/8. There are a couple different ways you could turn that improper fraction into a mixed number, but that's my favorite. So that's the one I used. All right, number 8. What is the total length of all the crystals in the bracelet? All right, so for this one, we already have the 1/2 and the 5/8 done. So you have to do the 3/8 and the 3/4 and add that to what we already have to come up with this answer. This is definitely going to be a little bit tricky, but I know you can do it. Go ahead and try it and see what you get. All right, I'm going to go ahead and erase some work here just because I'm running out of workspace. Let's do our 3/8 first. We've got 3/8 times 3/1. Remember, I'm multiplying it by 3/1 because there are 3 x's, and anytime we multiply a fraction by a whole number, we want to put it over 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 times 1 is 8. 9/8. I'm going to use a different method this time to turn this into a mixed number. I know that I can pull 8/8 out of this because 8/8 equals 1. So I pulled 8/8 out. I'm going to have 1 1/8 left. And I can check it by saying 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So it would equal 9/8. So I know my 3/8 is 1 1/8 plus 2 plus 1 7/8. Now we have to do 3/4. So we've got 3/4 times 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. And I know 12 over 4 is a division problem. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now we have to add them all up. I've got 2 plus 3 is 5. I know that much. And then I've got 1 1/8 and 1 7/8. Okay, let's keep going. I know I'm going to have 5, 6, 7, and 8/8, which is going to equal 8. So the total length of all the crystals in the bracelet would be 8. I hope you got 8. If you didn't, make sure you're going back and checking your work with mine to see where you went wrong. And if you don't understand where you went wrong, raise your hand so that I can come and help you. All right, let's dive into the last question. Average length of each crystal in the bracelet. Remember, for the average, we want to take the total length of all the crystals and divide it by how many crystals there are. So go ahead and try this. This is definitely a challenge or extension problem, but I'm curious to see what you get. For this one, you should have said 8 divided by 14 because there are 14 crystals and they're 8 inches long in total. 8 divided by 14, it's not just a division problem, it's also a fraction. 8/14, and I can simplify that by dividing by 2. That would get me 4/7. So if I broke up all these crystals and made them all the exact same length, they would be 4/7 inches long. Looks good, looks good. I hope you understood all of your notes and you got them taken down correctly. Remember, if you have any questions, to raise your hand and ask. Let's get this glued into our notebook and get started on that classwork.